This is one of the very best ways that anyone can start restoring their full resting squat. Many of us in the West have lost our full squat. We have spent too much time in chairs and shoes, and our knees don't love it, or our heels lift up, or we fall backwards. And all of those are signs that we're missing mobility and capacity. And as human beings, the squat is a natural movement pattern that our bodies require in order to work at their best. So I love helping people restore their squat, and like I said today, I'm going to share one of my absolute favorite ways to help you do that. So we're going to be using a kitchen sink for support. So every time you hit your kitchen sink, you can just practice a few of these, and that'll help you build your capacity with frequency, because frequency is helpful. The kitchen sink is here to give you a little bit of help so that you don't have to force your body into a deep range of motion or do a lot of work as you start to build strength. So you're going to hang on to your sink nice and solidly. If your kitchen sink isn't solid, you could totally do this on a fence or a railing, or find something you can hang on to that's kind of about belly button height. There's no magic to this. You just want something solid. And you're going to practice your squat kind of however works for you to start with. But as you keep practicing, here's a few pointers. So number one is you probably want your feet a little wider than hip width, because that's about how you're going to end up squatting in real life. Not super vital because squatting should be dynamic, but it's nice to give yourself some room for your body. And then the real key here is to think about sitting backwards with your butt. Now, that can be much harder to do than it sounds, because I don't know, my brain doesn't pick up on that one easily. So what I think is maybe more useful is to think about not letting your knees drift forward. So you want your knees to stay floating right over your heels. Of course, you can do this in a mirror or a video camera to see what that looks like. And as your knees stay still, you're just going to fold at your hips. This is very much like the hip hinge that I teach on YouTube and in my Free Your Feet download. One of the most useful basic movement patterns is the hip hinge. So you're hinging at your hips, your tailbone is untucking because your hamstrings are lengthening. And this is one of the great benefits of practicing squatting, because it's going to help you get more length in your hamstrings, more length and strength in your pelvic floor. And you're just going to go down as far as is comfortable for you, and then up. At a certain point, you might find that as you go down, your low back really starts to round. And that's fine, but it's a sign that maybe some hip mobility work will be useful for you. It is for most of us. So you want to be sort of thinking about your low back staying untucked, staying neutral, not a lot of rounding. You want this more about your hips. So you're thinking about folding in the fronts of your hips. The hip creases are getting smaller. One tip, many people are going to find this a little easier if you give yourself a little support for the backs of your heels. This just kind of helps support the lack of length we have in the backs of our bodies. So a rolled up yoga mat, half rollers if you have them, or couch cushions, whatever you've got. And you're going to come down and see what you've got, and just hang out there doing your best. Deep hip flexion, deep knee flexion, not going as far if that makes your knees hurt. Again, we're trying to coax this movement out, not slam our bodies into it. So here's another tip. If your knees don't like that deep flexion, you could try this. It's a little awkward. A yoga mat is probably easier than two cushions. You're going to hold a yoga mat behind your knees as you come down, and then you can kind of sandwich it there. So this can be a good tip if you feel like you need a little less pressure on your knees as you come down. And you're just going to use as much and as little sink as you need to come up and down. And there you go. That's your kitchen sink squat. Super simple, great way to get more whole body squatting into your life. Now, whole body squats are awesome, and so I'm teaching an entire month of whole body gentle squat prep work in September 2023. It's called Squat-tember. You can head below to sign up, and I'll send you emails every week to help you with the challenge. If it's after September 2023, we're going to make this into a keep forever. So go ahead and sign up anyway, and I'm going to help you learn to improve your squat gently over time so you can restore this amazing essential human movement pattern. Okay? Thanks for joining me.